Welcome to Virtual Voices. I'm Eli, one of your AI virtual hosts. Join us as we review previous videos from YouTuber Emmaus Road Productions.
And I am Miriam. And together, we bring you a deep dive podcast powered by Google's Notebook LM. This podcast is a generic AI-generated summary of Emmaus Road Productions videos, and we don't cover everything. Please consider watching his full video linked in the description below.
Well, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, right? And for a lot of folks, that means Santa Claus is coming to town. But for this deep dive, we're going to kind of look at things from a different angle and ask ourselves, could the jolly old elf actually be a bit problematic?
That's a really interesting question, especially when you think about how much Santa is just part of the whole Christmas thing.
Yeah. You sent us a video, and it's from Emmaus Road Productions, and it's called What's Wrong with Santa Claus? And honestly, I have to admit, when I first saw the title, I was a little surprised. It's not exactly the most cheerful holiday topic, is it?
Actually, the video brings up some really interesting points, and they're about how the whole Santa Claus story might affect kids. The people who made it aren't saying you can't celebrate Santa or anything, but they want people to think about what it means, like the psychology of it and the spiritual side of things.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit. The video starts by going way back and looking at how Santa Claus came to be, like from St. Nicholas, who was a real bishop back in the 4th century, to the Santa we all know today.
Yeah, St. Nicholas was known for being really generous, especially to children, which is great, but as the centuries went by, the story changed and changed until we ended up with this larger-than-life figure who almost seems to have these godlike powers, doesn't he?
The video talks about how Santa, knowing who's naughty and nice and flying all over the world in one night and giving gifts to every good kid. It's like those things we often think about when we talk about God, like knowing everything and being everywhere at once.
Exactly. And, we try to explain it all with magic and reindeer and stuff. But the video suggests that maybe, just maybe, blurring the lines between fantasy and reality like that could affect a child's mind. You know how they see the world and even their religious beliefs?
And they even use that classic poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," to make the point. Remember the line, "He knows when you are sleeping, he knows when you're awake." It really does sound like something you'd hear in a church, right?
Mm-hmm. It really does. And that brings us to what the video says is the main problem, the whole Santa lie thing. They say, even if you have good intentions, telling this myth could have consequences we don't see right away.
The guy who made the video actually talks about his own experience. He says when he found out Santa wasn't real as a kid, he felt betrayed. And he thinks maybe that experience could make kids cynical and not trust authority figures later on, including religious figures.
And the video really stresses how important honesty is, especially in Christianity. It makes you wonder, if it's okay to lie about Santa, what other truths might kids start questioning as they get older?
That's a really good point. It's like the video's saying, let's not take the fun out of Christmas, but let's think about what we're really teaching our kids, even with things that seem totally innocent. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great place to stop for now and pick it up in the next part.
It sounds good. We'll be back after a short break.
It's interesting how the video connects that whole Santa lie idea to this bigger trend we see in society. Like, everyone's cynical and doesn't trust anybody anymore.
Right. The video makes this argument. If kids find out that something as magical as Santa isn't real, it can make them question other stuff they've always believed, especially about faith and religion.
It's kind of like that story about the boy who cried wolf. If we keep telling these myths, even if they seem harmless, it might make it harder to talk about the things that really matter,
And the video even quotes a verse from the Bible. It's Proverbs 26.28 and says, "A lying tongue hates its victims." I guess it's highlighting how important it is to be truthful, especially when we're shaping young minds.
And of course, not everyone agrees with this whole idea, right? Lots of people think the Santa tradition is just fun and games. They say it helps kids use their imaginations and learn to be good, and that it creates those magical childhood memories.
Yeah, I totally get that. There's so much nostalgia tied up with Santa. For a lot of people, it's this special part of their childhood, and they want their kids to have that same joy.
Absolutely. And the video does say that most parents who do the whole Santa thing mean well. They're not trying to trick their kids. They just want to make the holidays really special.
But the video is asking us to look a little deeper, to ask ourselves, could those good intentions be hiding some negative stuff that maybe we don't see right away?
It makes you wonder if all that focus on Santa's magic and all the presents and stuff, could that actually distract from what Christmas is really about? Especially for families who are Christian.
You mean like we're so busy with Santa that we forget about the birth of Christ and the whole spiritual meaning of the holiday?
Exactly. That's the question they're raising.
Yeah.
And they're not trying to tell anyone what to do, but they want us to think about our traditions a little more deeply.
So what does all this mean for our listeners? Especially if they're starting to think like this too. Should we all just get rid of Santa?
You know, the video doesn't actually say that. It's more about finding that balance that works for you and your beliefs. Maybe being more honest with kids about Santa. You know, explaining that he's a symbol.
Or maybe focusing on the spiritual side of Christmas, along with the fun stuff.
Right. The important thing is to be aware of what we're teaching our kids and to make sure our holidays reflect what we really believe in.
Wow, it's amazing, isn't it, how just talking about Santa Claus can bring up all these big questions about parenting and faith and how our traditions shape what we believe.
It really shows how these cultural things, we just kind of take them for granted, but they can mean so much to people, right? And everyone sees things differently.
You know, one part that really stuck with me in that video was when the guy said the world felt cold and heartless after he found out Santa wasn't real. And it got me thinking, what if we're actually setting kids up to be disappointed later in life if we make them believe in this myth so much?
That's a really deep thought, you know? If kids think that Christmas joy and generosity all come from some magical guy who brings presents once a year, what happens when they figure out the truth? It's like, maybe they'll feel let down, like the world isn't as good as they thought it was.
And that goes back to what the video's really about, right? Finding real joy and meaning. Not just the kind that comes from presents and stuff, but something deeper, something that lasts.
Exactly. It's about showing kids that real generosity and love aren't tied to some made-up character. It's about the relationships we have, the good things we do for each other, and that connection we feel, you know?
So for everyone listening, what really stands out to you from all this? Has it changed how you think about Santa at all? Maybe it's given you some new ideas about how to celebrate the holidays with your family.
Maybe it's a reminder to focus on being honest and real in our celebrations. Or to really think about giving and compassion, not just gifts.
Or maybe it's just made you want to talk to your loved ones about what the holidays really mean to you. Because traditions can change as we change, right?
And if this whole idea about Santa Claus and the real meaning of Christmas is something you're interested in, you should definitely check out that full video from Emmaus Road Productions. They go into a lot more detail and even have some suggestions for people who want to celebrate the holidays in different ways.
Remember, the best gifts we give each other aren't the ones you find under the tree or in a stocking. They're the gifts of love and spending time together and making memories that last. Those are the things that really make us who we are. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you for watching, and feel free to subscribe or take a look at some of these other videos. And always remember Matthew 6:33, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Until next time, have a great day.